June 1st, 1946, the Miners' Union was started, with President Ernie Selvis, Vice President Bill Cook. Recording Secretary was George Burcham. Financial Secretary was Pete Mohan. The union has worked with the company for many years. Chris is starting to make the primers now. He'll roll off about 80 primers. Now he puts on a clamp that holds them firm on the wheel, and he has a real sharp knife and he cuts it straight off. Now once it's removed, he'll count out 20 primers. That's how much is in each roll when they are sent underground. And these primers are 9 feet long. Now he's going to add the spitter cap. He puts one on each primer. Now he puts them in this device and they crimp them onto the fuse. And you'll see after they're underground how the spitter burns through the little slot and ignites the fuse. Starts it burning. Now each roll has 20 primers. Now he'll add to the other end of the fuse the blasting cap. This is what sets the powder off. Now he crimps them the same as he did the others. Now he ties them real good because they have quite a ways to travel. He hangs them on the rack, and each rack has a number on them, and each rack is recorded.
They run from 1 to 14.
This is the company that provides the fuse. And these are the boxes that they're delivered to underground. They must be in wooden boxes to be hauled. Now this is the spitter primer and the blasting cap. Chris has shown the cap here. Now you see the slot in it. That's what the spitter cord goes through. And on this sheet is a recording of the date and the number of the box the fuse came from, and this is the date it was made, and how many, right here is how many primers was made out of that box. And this here is where the primers are shipped to, the shift bosses and the level. And if there's any defect, they can follow it right back to the box that those primers came from, and the box the fuse was in. Now here we have drilling with the jumbo. And we're drilling a 9-foot round. They drill with air and water. You can see the water coming out of the hole, and the exhaust is from the machines of drilling. To blast this face, it takes probably about 48 holes. Here Wayne is blowing all the moisture out of the hole. So you have to have a dry hole. Make sure it's clean so you can put the powder and the primers and the nitrate in it. If it's got any rocks or anything in it, you can't get anything in the hole. You can see the moisture coming out. Now John's loading around now. Puts the blasting cap into the stick of powder and he shoves it in. Tamps it pretty good. He's loading now there, that is the burn. And that goes off first and it blows a big hole. And then they call the hole that's around it, they call the easers. And they blast into that hole. Now he's putting the nitrate in and right behind the cap and the stick of powder. Most of the time the burn is loaded all with powder. At 3:30. All rounds are blasted. Everybody blasts at the same time. And everybody gets out from underground at the same time. They leave their working place. John's timing the round here now. He puts a hole about 1 foot apart on the spitter cord. Now John just lit the round. What you see there, the first will be the burn.
Come on, damn you, burn.
There, the burn just has been lit. Now it goes out to the easers. And those holes will be the first, and then what you see now is the second, and further on. Kent is operating an electric slusher. It's a 30 horse. And this is in a flat stove. They have to drag the ore away from the face. We have a bucket here, and you can see how it works. It's pulled into a chute. Here we're in the drift. This is a tram motor and cars. They haul 2.5 ton. Years ago they used to do this job with a horse. And now we're modern. We have air cylinders to raise the chute gates. And down below they have a bigger train that hauls about 72 ton to the load, to a train. The ventilation in the mine takes about 30% of the electric bill to provide fresh air. We have Kent and Marty setting up to drill in the flatter stope. They set a pin like this. And they put a board up, 8-inch board. There's a pin on each end of the board.
Pretty tight to me.
They tighten it in. That's right against the hanging wall. Now he sets his machine up and the stinger's right on the board so he can drill. And this is phosphate he's drilling here in the face. They call this collar in a hole. That's a top hole. We drill the bottom hole first. The top hole will be just hit the hanger, just touch it when it's all the way drilled out. The bottom hole just goes along the footwall. Now he's going to drill the east. And all these holes are leaning towards the burn. I think one of these machines weigh 90 pounds that they drill with. When he has the forced steel drilled out, it'll be a 6-foot round. Now Marty's starting to load. Puts the cap into the powder. Puts it in the hole. And he gets a few in, he'll come back and tamp them. Once again we have the burn. And this goes first, and all the other holes come into it. That loading stick is made of plastic. They either have plastic or wood. He rolls that up because the fuse is a little bit too long. Now he's putting the nitrate in. Now Marty's going to time the round. He puts that right in that little slot and then crimps it. There's the burn there. You can kind of see the pattern they drill. Yeah, the round is lit. It starts at the burn. It goes each way. It burns right through one of those little slots in the spitter cap, and it starts the fuse. And the fuse takes about 6.5 minutes. A small drift here, and these rails have just been stood, and they lay down a tie and push out the slides to advance in the drift. Now we have a 21 mucker mucking out the drift round. Now we're at a jump switch, and they put the empty car on the jump switch. Now it's pushed to the side, and then they pull ahead and pick up the full car, and then they take it back, and then they put the empty car in front. And that's how they keep the empty car next to the mucker. Now we're drilling with a jack leg, and they're drilling about a 6.5 foot round. And here we are in a steep slope. Steve is going to drill a forced steel round, which adds to about 6 foot. And there's 18 inches to a change of steel. And he drills a pattern. There's a top hole and an easer and a bottom hole. He's on the easer there now. You can see that he drills with quite a bit of water. Each change of steel is 18 inches. When you work in a stope, they're paid by the cubic. Steve is standing on a 8-inch board. He works all day on an 8-inch board. Here we have John loading the holes. He's has the primers in, and he's adding the powder to it. Steve has come over to help him, and now we're putting in the nitrates, or the prel, and it's blown in by air. As it's blown in, he retrieves the prel gun. Now he's timing the round. That's a very important part of the round. Timing it, you'll start your easer first, and then your top hole, and then the bottom hole. And when you light your round, you start at the burn, and it blows a large hole in the face, and then the easer will break to it, then the top hole, and then the bottom hole, and then it just keeps on going down the face in that pattern. And this rock will fall right into this chute. Cominco required a ball mill to be built. And it was started in September of 1987, and they drew 80% of the men from underground to build it. The project was completed in '88. Well, making the film, we had a closure. We're going to talk with Marty Dipple, Cominco manager of Montana, and he's going to tell us about the shutdown of the mine. Well, making the film, we had a closure. We're going to talk with Marty Dipple, Comico manager of Montana, and he's going to tell us about the shutdown of the mine. Go ahead, Marty.
All right, Jack, I appreciate the opportunity to talk on this a little bit. I haven't had much time yet to digest the whole impact of the mine being gone, because this really is the middle of the life of the whole ore body and the operation. It's a sad thing to see it go down, and some of the things that have led up to the problems that created this were totally out of the control of anybody locally, and to a degree anybody in the management of the company at the corporate level. Government interference, regulations, and that have caused the problems that created the shutdown of the mine. As an independent unit, it was economically viable. It was still operating at a reasonable cost, a competitive cost with any of the other rock produced in the western phosphate field, and it was simply a loss of customer because of environmental regulations on the plants that produced the phosphate itself that caused the shutdown of this operation. The change of administrations in government in 1992 caused the company to look at the implications of continuing to operate when they were already running in a duress situation, trying to deal with the environmental regulations that were in place both in the U.S. and in Canada. And after a long, serious look at the situation, it was determined that the best thing to do was to get out of the business while there was still a shirt on everybody's back. And that's basically what happened. From a standpoint of life, the mine should have run at least another 30 years. 35 to 40 or 50 years was a real possibility. At this point, the methods of mining, the type of equipment we used, are totally out of dated in the current mining situation. And in fact, since we've shut down, several of the sources of supplies have dried up in the United States because nobody else is using that type of equipment. So I have very faint hopes of anything ever being done to mine this operation, although there's almost 3 million tons of developed ore sitting underground right now behind the closed portals, and there's in the neighborhood of 9 to 10 million tons of ore available in today's mining methods and understanding of the mining operation. So it's a real sad thing to see it go, but under the present situation, I don't believe that it'll ever open up again, simply because the resources are not there, and the base, the capital costs, everything that would make that kind of an operation start again are not in the cards for the product that's available. So that's about all I've got on the thing, Jack. But that's basically where it's come from and where it's gone.
Well, thank you, Marty.